Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Executive. My name's Stephen Conway. I'm the leader of the Council and the Executive Member for Housing, Partnerships and the Local Plan, and I'm, as you can see, going to be chairing this meeting. Now, before we begin, I just need to make a few housekeeping announcements. Please ensure that any mobile devices or mobile phones are switched off. If you're participating via Teams, when you're not speaking, please mute your microphones. And please note that the meeting is currently being webcast live. There are no fire drills planned this evening, and if a fire alarm sounds, we should take it seriously and leave the building via the nearest exit and gather at muster point 2, which is located in the car park at the rear of the building, and that's over there. Okay, I'm going to introduce the officers who are present behind me and to my left-hand side. And I'm going to start with those on the screen who I can see Wes very clearly, and Wes is Service Director for Adult Social Care, Transformation and Commissioning. I think Hi Wes, good to see you. I think Emma is there, Emma Cockrell, who's the Director of Children's Services and Executive Director of Children's Services. Is that your full title now? Just Director. And we've also got Daisy Fitzgibbon from the Council's comms team. So welcome all of you. Thank you very much for joining us. And on my left, sitting in splendid isolation over there, is George Framalico, who's the Director of Place and Growth. And then moving on to the table behind me, we have Priya Patel, who's the Head of Democratic Services. And next to Priya is Karina Andrea, who is here as a work experience student for a couple of weeks. Good to see you, Karina. And then we have Graham Ebers, who's the Deputy Chief Executive and the Chief Finance Officer of the Council. And then we have Andrew Moulton, last but by no means least, who's Assistant Director Governance on the Council and the Council's Monitoring Officer. So you have a good set of Council officers here. The councillors I'm going to ask to introduce themselves. And this week, or this month, I'm going to start over this side and ask Adrian to go first.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Adrian Betteridge, Executive Councillor responsible for active travel, highways and transport.
Hi, Catherine Harding, Executive Member for Environment and Climate Emergency.
I'm Prue Bray. I'm the Executive Member for Children's Services and Deputy Leader of the Council.
Good evening, I'm Imogen Shepherd-Bay. I am the Executive Member for Finance and Governance.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Bishop-Firth. I'm the Executive Member for Resident Services, Inclusion and Fighting Poverty.
Hello, I'm David Hare. I'm Executive Member for Adult Services, Health and Wellbeing.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We are missing 3 colleagues. We've had apologies from Mark Ashwell and Lou Timlin, and I think we need to add to that Martin Alder. He may surprise me and arrive late, but I fear he's not going to be able to make it. So, can we move to the agenda proper and the minutes of the previous meeting on the 19th of June? Is everybody content that we sign those minutes or I sign those minutes as an accurate record? Yes?
I just have one very small thing to mention. As Mark isn't here, in the apologies, his name is spelt as Mark Asher.
Oh,
if we could.
Yes, it's an interesting conflation of 2 different people. Yeah. But with that very small amendment, which shows that you read it very carefully, can we accept the minutes? Thank you. Lovely. And I'll just sign those. So if we move now on to item 15, declarations of interest. And Catherine, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, I'd like to declare a personal interest in item 24 in the agenda, as I am a member of the Charleville Parish Council, though I've been advised by Democratic Services that as we are only approving a consultation exercise and appointing an inspector, I am able to participate and vote on this item.
Thank you, Catherine. Are there any other declarations of interest? No, that's splendid. And then we move on to the next item, which is statement from the leader. Wokingham Borough Council will potentially see a big reduction in the revenue support it receives from central government, according to proposals for the new 3-year finance settlement for English councils. If implemented, the reductions would require the council to use nearly all the additional council tax it raises to plug the gap created by the loss of government support. That would leave nowhere near enough to deal with inflationary pressures and increased demand for services. The government is currently consulting on its proposals, and while we must begin preparation for next year's budget on the assumption that the worst case scenario will come to pass, we are working hard to persuade ministers to moderate their approach. I've written to Jim McMahon, the local government minister, to put the case for a minimum guarantee or floor on council's total revenue to ensure no council is put under unsustainable financial pressure. We cannot believe that the government truly wants to see any council fall over as a result of its new local government finance settlement. Wokingham is fortunate to have a healthy level of reserves and a good record of financial resilience, but other councils will struggle to survive if the government does not adjust its proposals. And even in Wokingham, we will face enormously difficult decisions if there is no significant change in government thinking. To secure the best possible outcome, the council has been working with the borough's 2 MPs, Clive Jones for Wokingham and Ewan Yang for Woodley and Earley, who have been supporting our campaign for a revenue floor below which no council should fall. Our MPs have lobbied ministers and are reaching out to MPs in other areas of the country similarly affected to Wokingham. The council's chief executive, meanwhile, has written to her counterparts in the more than 50 other councils we believe are in the same boat as we are. And I am following up these letters with letters of my own to council leaders. Wokingham Borough Council has a good record of strong financial management and an administration that has shown that it can take tough decisions. We also have excellent officers who work hard, whose hard work and commitment to public service are the bases of our success. We will rise to this challenge, as we have to others over the last 3 years, calmly and rationally. We will come through, but our work will be easier if we can persuade the government to moderate its proposals. Thank you. Right, we now move on to item 17, which is public questions. And we have Sandy Sweet here to ask her question. So Sandy, if you'd like to come up to the table and make yourself comfortable. Are you okay with the chair height and everything? Yes, good. Johnny, good. When you're ready, if you press the button in front of you to switch on the microphone.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My question is this: why, when the NHS suffers with bed blocking and social services struggle to put adequate care plans in place, do they not both utilise the services of local day centres like Wade? It has professional carers, physiotherapy, hot lunches, shower access, age-appropriate exercise classes, arts and crafts, music sessions and entertainment all day, Monday to Friday, at a significantly cheaper cost than a hospital bed or care at home. Recovery and rehabilitation can be better managed in a convivial and friendly environment, rather than alone in either hospital or at home.
Thank you, Sandy. And your question's directed to David as Executive Member for Adult Services, Health and Wellbeing. So, David, would you like to provide a response to Sandy?
Thank you for your question, Sandy. Wokingham has maintained good performance in hospital discharges, achieving a rate of 92% of people who were discharged to their normal place of residence in 2024-25. This is above our target of 91% and in line with the English average. Wokingham also performs well in relation to timeliness of hospital discharges in comparison to neighbouring local authorities, supported by our good commissioning relationships with a diverse range of community providers which are readily available. Wokingham works closely with our partners, including health services and those who provide services to support with hospital discharge, with the joint aim of reducing delays with hospital discharge and to continue to support people to remain living in their own home. Consideration of day services would usually become part of the longer-term care planning for an individual. As you know, Wokingham has been a partner of Wade for over 15 years, and they currently support the council by commissioning care and support for over 20 residents. We've regularly spent time with Wade to provide advice and support whenever they requested our help or needed it. We are pleased to continue this collaboration, ensuring that we can work together, giving Wade the help and support they need to adapt and evolve their services to meet the ever-changing needs of our community.
Thank you, David. Sandy, do you have a supplementary question you would like to put?
Well, I have a supplementary statement. I'm not sure it's entirely a question.
Well, if you preface it, would you agree? Then it makes it a question.
Well, you may not, of course. Yes, would you agree? This question was initiated really on behalf of the occupational therapists at Wokingham Hospital, who we invited to our open day last year, and who were, I think the word is, shocked and amazed at the facilities that we had at Wade, which are currently being underutilised, and therefore we are under-resourced. Their view was that they have people in hospital at Wokingham who could go home after 4 weeks, but are still languishing in bed after 6 weeks, and the average time they spend there is indeed 6 weeks. Their view was that they could actually leave those beds after 4 weeks and come to somewhere like Wade, and we would be able to work with them with rehabilitation, with our own physiotherapists. They would be in company, they wouldn't be in a medicalised atmosphere, and it would be a good halfway house before they were finally discharged to go home completely. Now, this was initiated by them, not by us, and so I have been looking into this subsequently, and I know that there is a real need for us to be able to do this. We could take tomorrow 20 people out of Wokingham Hospital. That would free up 20 beds at the Royal Berkshire Hospital for acute care, and we could probably do that every month. Take an additional 20, we have the capacity, and if I employed 2 more carers, I could take 40. So I really would ask the council, I would urge you to consider the facility that you have 250 yards away from this building, which if we continue in our current underutilised state, will not continue into the future, I'm sorry to say. So that is the situation we have. So whether you agree or not, that is my statement.
No, thank you very much for that. David, would you like to respond?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. And as you know, I hope that Wesley Hedger, who's online here, is going to meet with you next Thursday, I believe. And certainly I hope that that can be part of the conversation that you have with him, so that we can show what we can do together in the future. Thank you.
That would be very helpful. Yes, Wesley and Chris are meeting with me next week. Thank you.
And we listened very carefully to what you've said, Sandy, and we obviously want to try and reach a position, if it's at all possible, where we're able to take advantage of what you're offering. So there will be a conversation next week, which I hope will move things in the direction that we all want to move in.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much. I guess there are no parish and town council questions. No, thank you. And I think I'm right in saying there are no member questions from other councillors in this organisation. Okay, thank you very much. So we move then on to matters for consideration, and the first of those is item 20, Revenue Budget Monitoring Report, quarter one, and this is on your agenda and starts on page 15, and Imogen is going to present this as Executive Member for Finance.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, indeed. Well, to summarise, this report is just to publicly show how well we are doing as a council at staying on target within the first quarter of revenue spending predictions. And it gives us a heads up to any problems that might be coming down the road. So it's really here just for us to note. There is currently a small overspend of 0.9 million, and this will be monitored throughout the year, but it's not unusual for the first quarter for us to be here. Adult social care and children's services and place of growth are all reporting pressures on their budgets, and they are targeted to achieve more than 5 million in savings throughout this year, but are under pressure from external factors such as interest rates, inflation, and demands for these services. There is also a further extension to the statutory override, which is a loan intended to protect residents from the high demands of funding schools, and most specifically children with high special educational needs. This has become a significant problem for many councils who have the responsibility for children, and the need far outstrips the available funding, and it's something that is under review by central government. While this loan does not appear on our council financial reports, the interest payments on that loan funded by a revenue budget, and the DSG loan is expected to reach 56.9 million by the 31st of March 2026. We are hoping that the central government will come up with a better plan to fund this special education needs soon, and I know Prue will probably want to talk more on this. As a final note, there is a slight positive of £6,000 for the housing revenue account, but it needs to be monitored closely, and our general fund balance is forecast to be 9.7 million. But we will need to work hard to hold on or improve that position, especially with what's coming ahead with the local government finance settlement. Okay.
Thank you very much, Imogen. Prue, you wanted to say something on
Yes,
this?
as Imogen so rightly predicted. So the dedicated schools grant, the whole is not as big as we thought it was going to be when we took over, when we went into our safety valve agreement, which is what our deficit management programme was supposed to be, but it's still a huge hole. It's not, we've slowed the rate of increase, but we haven't stopped it increasing. Or slowed the rate of predicted increase, it's still increasing quite fast. The government has announced that they are going to do something about special educational needs, which is what the vast majority of this money is. Unfortunately, it's been delayed and delayed again, and what they're talking about doesn't sound terribly encouraging, shall I say. I mean, they want more mainstream inclusion. That's a good thing. I think that's also what we're trying to do, because I think it's better for most children. But there will always be children who cannot attend mainstream schools. And I'm really quite worried about the noises coming out of government about trying to get rid of education, health and care plans for children and move them into non-specialist education. That's not always appropriate, and it could, it could hurt children's prospects as well as not sort out the issues, because the issue actually is that the children need help, and it doesn't matter whether they've got a plan or not. They're going to need the support, and we have to pay for it somehow. So we'll just have to wait and see. But at the moment, as Imogen said, the statutory override, which is the thing that stops it falling on the council's finances, has been extended for another 2 years, so it's not now due to expire till March 2028. Yes, yeah, we have to live with the interest, and I think if only they would roll the interest into the deficit, it would come off our own accounts, and we'd be several £1 million a year better off. But sadly, they have not done that yet, or at least Do I think they're going to do it? They haven't made any noises about it at all, but we will keep asking.
Thank you, Prue. If there are no other comments on this item, the Revenue Budget Monitoring Report for Q1, I think we can go straight to the recommendation on page 15. There are two recommendations. The first, to note the overall forecast of the current position of the General Fund Revenue Budget, Housing Revenue Account and Dedicated Schools Grant. And second, to note the Council has been and will continue to make representations to address the escalating Dedicated Schools Grant deficit. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. That's everyone. Okay, thank you very much. Now the second report, item 21 on the agenda, is a sister report of the first. It deals with the capital side, the capital monitoring 2025-26 Q1, and it's Imogen again. And for reference, this begins on page 21 in your agenda.
Thank you, Stephen. Just like our revenue monitoring report, our capital monitoring report on Q1, we are tasked with largely noting its position, and we are also reprofiling some projects to future years, just to even because they don't need to be done straight away or what other reasons. We need to note and approve some budget reprofiling and the two additional budget adjustments. This includes a reduction of £127,251,000 in the school's devolved capital budget, and this is due to schools becoming academies. Academies are paid this money directly, and it is part of a ring-fence grant from the Department of Education. We also need to add a budget of £39,000 in 25-26 for drainage works at King George V playing fields, which is in Wokingham. This is being funded by a £38,000 ring-fence grant from the Environment Agency and a £1,000 contribution from Wokingham Town Council, who are a parish council, who is helping us with this work, which is great. Apart from that, I mean, we're all happy with the reprofiling. There isn't much else we could say, really.
Okay, thank you. And I think we should record our thanks to Wokingham Town Council for that contribution. It's very helpful. And I think we clearly want to encourage close working with our town and parish councils wherever possible. So a big thank you to them for that contribution. Are there any other points anyone wants to raise in relation to the capital monitoring? No? Okay. Well, the recommendation is on page 21. This is a bit more complicated. There are three recommendations, and the third breaks down into an A and B. I'm not going to read it all out. I'm going to assume that you can see these recommendations in the agenda, and I'm going to ask you to indicate your support for these recommendations. Thank you. That's everyone. Okay, we move now on to item 22, which begins on page 29 of your agenda, and this is the new council plan, and I will be introducing this item. The new council plan has been through overview and scrutiny process twice and has benefited from the suggestions made by members of all parties who sit on the overview and scrutiny committee that looked at this. And the plan, the new council plan, reflects our commitment to listening to users of our services, as in Social Care Future, and embodies our ambition to embrace the Marmot principles, which aim to improve public health and emphasise the importance of prevention and early intervention. But the new plan is fundamentally shaped by the ambitions of the community's Vision 2035. And the community's Vision 2035, as I'm sure colleagues will be fully aware, was created by volunteer residents on the steering group. It's been endorsed by public consultation. The vision was facilitated by the council, but the council did not take the lead. It supported and facilitated, and it represents very much the voice of our community, a bottom-up expression of what the community wants to see over the coming decade. And the message emerging from the vision is the wish for thriving, green and inclusive communities in which everyone can contribute. And the council plan embodies these wishes and is the council's master document for realising the ambitions of the community's vision. I don't know whether anyone wants to ask any questions or make any points in relation to the council plan, the new council plan.
We're just recommending this to council. It goes to council next week.
Yes, we're not in itself approving it. We're recommending it to council. It has to be approved by the full council. All it remains for me to do is to thank all the officers who worked very hard on this. Sally Watkins is the lead officer concerned with it, but Emily Hickson and Louise Livingston and their colleagues have all played a big part in it, and I would like to record our thanks to them. It's a really substantial bit of work, and it is something I hope the whole council will be proud of and will endorse when it has the opportunity next week. So if there are no other comments, let's vote on the recommendation, which is that the executive recommend to council the adoption of the new council plan 2025-30. Those in favour? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Now we move on to item 23, equality, diversity and inclusion policy and objectives, and this begins on page 61 of your agenda, and I'm going to ask Rachel to introduce this item.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be sharing Woking Borough Council's new equality, diversity and inclusion policy and our new equality objectives with you tonight. This is the result of months of work and the voices of an incredible 2,500 people. I'd like to start by thanking everybody who took part. Vine, which is the Woking Borough Voice of Inclusion and Equality, and the WBC staff groups who co-produced this policy. Vine helped us to work with over 30 organisations as part of this work. A number of organisations such as CLASP, The Link and Berkshire LGBT Plus Parents Network partnered with us to provide the perspectives of their members. And of course the officers who worked alongside these community organisations to produce this policy. Residents took part in consultations, and the members of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on 3 separate occasions have reviewed and challenged and fed back as part of the development process. And these inputs played a vital part in informing and shaping the new policy. We have committed in the policy to continue working with our residents, community organisations and our workforce as we continually improve and deliver our objectives. As a council, we've got important legal duties towards our residents and our workforce. The public sector equality duty requires us to consider how our policies and decisions affect people from different protected groups and to take steps to eliminate discrimination, advance equality of opportunity and foster good relations between different groups in our community. The Equality Act 2010 requires us to establish equality objectives every 4 years. We also have important obligations to treat our workforce fairly and, for example, to publish a gender pay gap report. This policy shows how we're meeting these requirements and contains our equality objectives. This is also in line with Woking Borough's new council plan, which includes a key ambition for us to be fair, for residents to have equitable access to opportunities, services and support. Like many councils across the country, Wokingham Borough Council has chosen to use the equality framework for local government, and this has been a huge support in ensuring that the policy is comprehensive and in line with best practice. As we continually improve, the framework will help us to monitor our progress and to compare it with other councils. This in turn will support us in our commitment to share our progress and impact with the community. I hope that we can all agree to approve this report and to recommend that the full council formally adopts it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Is there anyone else on the executive who'd like to say anything? We're going to have, first of all, Adrian and then Imogen.
Thank you. I welcome the new policy. One of my additional responsibilities is as the Armed Forces Champion for Wokingham Borough. And We are working on renewing our commitment to the Armed Forces Covenant and to ensuring that the Council treats members of the Armed Forces community, veterans, cadets, serving personnel and their families equitably. And I'm delighted to draw attention to the fact that within this policy we have included the Armed Forces community as a part of our core approach to equalities. This means that we don't have to treat members of that community specially. They are at the heart of everything we're doing from an equality point of view. And I think it will make it much easier for us to deliver on our obligations under the Armed Forces Covenant.
Thank you, Adrian. Imogen.
Thank you, Stephen. At the bottom of page 65, it talks about third parties and suppliers and contractors. The Council will ensure that equality, diversity, inclusion is integrated into our contract management, and contractors are obliged to adopt our Council policy to comply with equality, diversity, and inclusion. I'm quite keen to see that where we have some contractors providing services to our residents, that they don't end up implementing policies that contradict the council or the stuff that the council wouldn't follow. Might need a bit more work with procurement, but I'm very happy to see this here. So we need to be clear on what this looks like, but I'm very pleased that this is in this report, that it mentions our subcontractors.
Thank you, Imogen. Okay. Oh, and Prue now wants to come in.
Sorry,
Something out to be an extremely popular item to talk on.
I'm just pleased to see care leavers in there as a group that we particularly want to pay attention to, and we have recognised them as having a protected characteristic.
Yes,
and,
indeed.
Yeah, it's part of including everybody fairly, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. I've already referred to creating inclusive communities, and this is part of that endeavour. Okay, thank you. Unless anyone else wants to chip in with a further thought, I would suggest we move to the vote, which is a fairly straightforward one. It's that the Executive recommends to Council the adoption of the new Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy and Objectives 2025 to 29. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. That's everyone. And now we move to the last item on our agenda, agenda item 24, which starts on page 99. This is the Charleville Neighbourhood Plan. And I'm going to be presenting this report. Several of our parish councils have produced neighbourhood plans, which enable them to have a say in the way in which their area develops in the years ahead. It also has the advantage from a parish point of view and town point of view. If you have a neighbourhood plan, an adopted neighbourhood plan, you're entitled to a larger share of the SIL receipts, developer contribution receipts. And if you don't have a neighbourhood plan, you're entitled as a parish to 15% of those receipts. If you do have one, you're entitled to 25%. So in parishes and towns where significant development is expected, this is quite an incentive in itself. But the biggest draw, I hope, for parishes is that they have the opportunity to have an input into the way in which development occurs in their patch. Now, neighbourhood plans have to be approved by the Borough Council. They have to be in conformity with the Borough Council's own local plan, which in itself has to be in conformity with national planning policy. So that gives you a sense of where it fits in the planning hierarchy. But besides being approved by the Borough Council, neighbourhood plans have to be subject to independent examination. An independent examiner has to look at them before they can be finally signed off for a public referendum in the parish. And this evening, all we're asked to do is agree to the publication of Charleville's draft neighbourhood plan for public consultation and to the appointment of an independent inspector to review it. So the recommendations are on page 99 of your agenda. The first one is to approve a 6 weeks consultation period on the submission draft Charleville Neighbourhood Plan, and the second is to agree to appoint an examiner to independently examine the submission draft Charleville Neighbourhood Plan, delegating the appointment and submission of the submission draft plan and supporting documents to the Director of Place and Growth, in consultation with the leader of the council and executive member for housing partnerships and the local plan, which is just two of us, despite the very long title. That's George and me. So can I ask for those who are in agreement with that? Yours, yes, I'm sorry, Catherine. After all that, I forgot to ask you if you wanted to say something.
Just very briefly, I think we can all see the amount of work that's gone into the preparation of these neighbourhood plans. So I know it's been a huge endeavour over a number of years from members of the community of Charville and indeed some members of the parish council. So I think just wanted to register, I think, thanks for that work that's gone in, and also to the WBC officers who have supported the progress. I think everyone's very keen to see it continue, and so tonight I think it's a great step to be moving it forwards towards adoption, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Indeed.
Pending consultation, examination and everything.
Yes, pending all of those little obstacles. But this is a very good step forward, and I endorse all of your thanks to the parish council and the volunteers in Charville who have helped them in creating this draft, and our officers for the advice and guidance they've given in the process. Once Charville's neighbourhood plan is formally adopted, it will join its neighbouring parishes of Twyford and Ruscombe in having a neighbourhood plan, which I think is a very good thing. So, thank you very much, everyone. Can we now go to the vote on this item then? Those in favour, please show. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. And that, I think, brings our meeting of Working Borough Council's executive to a close. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance. And those of you who are able to now go home, I wish you a very pleasant evening. There are some of us who I'm afraid have to stay for a further meeting of the Shareholder Committee. And we welcome Pauline, who's joining us for that. I imagine that's why you're here, Pauline. Yes.